All right, here we go. Third try. Social psychology, part one. Social thinking. This is a new program, so here we go. Next slide. Perfect. Attribution theory is the first thing we need to talk about. This is by a guy named Fritz Heider, another cool German guy. And he said that we either attribute others' actions to their internal personal dispositions or to the external situation. So we either attribute their actions to what's going on inside of them, to just personally how they are as a person, or to the situation that they're in. And what that leads to very easily is this thing called the fundamental attribution error. And what we tend to do when we watch other people, when we see other people do things, we tend to think that the way that they act is due to their internal disposition and not to the situation. So for example, if somebody cuts us off in traffic, we get really pissed off about it and we're upset, and we think that that person up there is just a jerk, and that's all they are. They cut us off because they're a jerk. What we don't realize is perhaps in that situation, they're going to go visit their dying grandmother, or they're missing their daughter's dance recital, or it could be the power of the situation that's doing it. On the flip side of the coin, right, if we cut somebody off in traffic, then we're thinking, oh, I had to do that because I had to get to work really quick, and normally I don't act this way, and it's not who I am, it's just the situation that caused me to act this way. So the fundamental attribution error is where we attribute somebody's actions normally to their internal disposition, and we neglect how powerful the situation around them that caused them to act that way is. And one of the things about social psychology is that the situation is always a very powerful influencer in the way we act. Next slide. All right. I think I'm still going. Central route persuasion. So another next topic that we need to talk about is central route persuasion. Central route and peripheral route persuasions are two ways to persuade somebody to act, right? So we're trying to change their attitudes into action here. Central route persuasion is when we as a person are listening to an argument or listening to somebody talk, and we're paying attention to the actual principles of the argument. So if I'm trying to sell you two different watches, and I'm listening to which watch is actually better, which one's going to last longer, which one tells better time, which one is going to hold up better to the lifestyle that I have. Peripheral route persuasion tries to get around that argument, and it talks about, it'll look at things like if you see a pretty girl next to a car, you might buy that car because the pretty girl that are next to it is almost subconsciously influencing you that if you have that car, then that pretty girl is going to come along with it. Or if you see Michael Jordan selling batteries, you might buy those batteries because Michael Jordan's the person selling them, not because those batteries are any more awesome than the other batteries. It's because Michael Jordan. You don't even really realize that you're doing it. So it's peripheral, trying to go around the outside. Like your central routes are trying to break down the gate that's holding you to make decisions, and peripheral is trying to go around the outside. Another way that we try to change your actions is a thing called the foot in the door phenomenon. Foot in the door phenomenon is where you ask for something small and then start to increase the things that you're asking for. So, for instance, a study recently, they went to different people, asked them to place this big, huge 3-foot sign in people's front yard, and very few people said yes, for a good cause. And they went to different people, and they said, can we put a little 3-inch sign in your yard? And almost everybody said yes. And then 2 weeks later, they went to those same people and asked, can we put a 3-foot sign in your yard saying the same thing? And 87% of the people, right, 87% said yes. The first time, only 17% said yes, right? So 87% said yes now because they had previously committed. So it's kind of like a foot in the door is a bit of like gradually escalating commitments. You start small and you work your way up. And this is a very common method of persuasion when people are trying to sell you things. They'll ask you if you want to buy something small, and then they'll increase it to something bigger. And finally, the last thing I think that we need to talk about here today is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when our actions and our attitudes don't match up. And we have this dissonance. The dissonance is like this uncomfortable feeling, this conflict in our minds. And one has to give. So it's when attitudes and actions or behaviors don't match, right? They don't match. And so we have to make them match. And normally what changes is our attitudes. Our attitudes will end up changing because they want to match our actions. So if we act in a particular way, our attitudes are going to change to stay in line with the reason why we acted that way. So if we act rudely, our attitude is we had to act rudely because it was required in that situation, or because the other person was rude. It's not because you're a rude person and was out of character. It's because the other person was rude. Or if we support something with money, we donate money to something, maybe we weren't thinking about it. Now all of a sudden, our attitude about whatever we just supported, whatever we just gave money to, our action giving money, we're going to support that charity more so if we were asked later how much we support it, because our actions, we gave money to it. Therefore, we must feel personally responsible, and we want to feel in line with what we did, and so we're going to support that thing more. So our attitudes and our actions have to match up. That's about it. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.